All I gotta do is show Emily how to put all these back together, and I can just sit back.
Paint.
Marking grease. All right, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm back in the garage. We're getting ready for a ton of events that we're planning on going to. Now, one of the projects I got right here is the rear of our rear steer rock crawler. What I'm doing, I'm pulled out the carrier and I'm replacing it with a carrier that has a locker in it. And the main reason that I'm doing that is so that I can turn sharper. When we go to these rock crawling competitions, we actually get penalized for using our rear steer. So the goal is to minimally use our rear steer, and what we're gonna try to do is get tighter turning by putting in a Detroit locker into this rear end. And what that'll allow us to do is when we put the car in the front only, you can pivot around the corner tighter, and we're gonna put in cutting brakes too, so you can grab the one corner cutting brake, and then the other tire can still spin and it'll lock that one, and hopefully it'll spin us on a tighter radius. So this is definitely the less glamorous part of owning a rock crawler and doing all the work ourselves. We've always done all of our own work. Like I said, we put the entire video series on how we built this crawler step by step from scratch right here on YouTube. And it's a part, the only way we can afford to do this hobby is to do everything ourselves. It'd just be too expensive to take our stuff to somebody else, to have somebody else do it for us. I'm the type of person who is just always would rather learn how to do something myself than to pay somebody to do it, because I mean, my time's valuable too, so if I just go to work to pay somebody else to learn how to do it, well, I would rather just try to take this on myself. So the good thing is I'm at a point now where I can pull this back out, get this carrier out, and get everything ready for the new one to go back in. This is my first time using a Detroit style locker. I've always used, like, our Rubicon as electric lockers. I've used air lockers, like with the old style Rubicon ones in the past, the low pressure ones. I even had a early style Eaton electric locker that was like a limited slip plus a locker combo, and that thing was a pain in the butt. It pretty much put me on my side a couple times because it stopped working at the worst possible time. So I have a little bit of bad taste in my mouth from lockers, but I feel like it's what we need to do to make this car a little bit more competitive. Here's our old carrier right here, and if you can see, I've always just welded these together in the past, you know, just basically fill it all together with weld and basically just make a Lincoln locker or a really cheap spool. That's always worked just fine for me for Dana 60s and for 14 volts. But here we've got our Detroit locker. I had to order a whole new carrier. This is a brand new carrier because I couldn't use the old carrier. The old carrier I had welded up. So I ordered a new carrier. This wasn't bad, it was only like $200 for the carrier, for a brand new one. Here's the ring gear. These are the ring gears I installed last 2 falls ago. This is all good, there's no chips, nothing weird's going on there. So the great thing is 14 bolts are super easy to set up. So what I'm gonna do is put this back together, put all the bolts in, torque it down. The instructions for installing this are super basic. You drop the Detroit locker in there, put the other half on there, drop my ring gear, put all the bolts. I've got the arrow right here where to line these two halves up. Then we're gonna put it back into the differential and then try to get our backlash set back up to where it needs to be. So I've been thinking about doing just more basic garage videos like this. Let me know in the comments if this sort of stuff people want to see. If not, I'm always just trying different things. You know, maybe it's interesting to some, maybe it's not to others. Anybody who plays around in motorsports, pretty much, unless you're really wealthy, you have to work on stuff yourself. It's just kind of part of this game we play. It doesn't matter if you're in motocross or ATVs, UTVs, any of that sort of stuff. The only way most people can afford to do this sort of stuff is to do it themselves or learn how to do it themselves. And that's always been part of the fun for me as well. It's the way you get better at it. It's also satisfying to be able to do this stuff yourself. ended up running out of thread locker blue, and the master install kit comes with, I have a Yukon master install kit still laying around. Came with some thread locker red, so I use it very sparingly because I want these to be able to come off again. I think they come with thread locker red because, like, you know, gears are kind of designed for going really fast down the highway. Vibrations can work them loose, where I'm not quite as worried about that. In a rock crawler, this thing is lucky to see speeds over 40 miles an hour, but regardless, at least I got some thread locker on there. This is where I'm at now. I've got these all just torqued. That probably torques them to like 15 or 20 pounds, and then I'll have to torque them the rest once I put them back in there. I find it easier to do once it's in the rear diff. And then I've got some brand new bearings that I bought to press on here. And the nice thing is, I'll clean that up a little. I bought some nice new bearings to put on there. Might as well start fresh on this nice new carrier. And then you can see the Detroit locker in here. It comes with this little, basically this little wing nut holds the Detroit locker together. I accidentally unscrewed it and stuff went flying everywhere. And luckily I have the exploded view in the instructions to put it back together that says do not do that. So once again, I learned the hard way, but it's not very many pieces to go back together. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put those bearings on. I'm gonna take this wing nut out, so that's all done. All right, so we got these nice brand new Timken bearings to throw on this carrier, and the beauty of the 14 bolt is we don't have to worry about all those dumb shims like you have to with the front Dana 60. Those really suck. The best thing to do with those is to get a setup bearing, kind of grind it out so you can slide it on and off and get your shim count just right and then set it up. But the 14 bolt, we don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to put these in the bearing press down on them, get them on there, and then we're ready to go back in the rear of that car. All right, we'll flip it over, drop this bearing on there, voila, ready to go. All right, there we go. I got my helper just joined me, huh?
Yeah.
All right, who's got their Carhartts and work boots on? Who's ready to go?
Me.
All right, what are we working on today, Ems?
The rear diff.
The rear diff? All right, so what we're doing, Ems, we're gonna put that back into there. You ready to do that?
Yep.
All right, so this is what we gotta do. We got our adjusters. So Ems, these are the adjusters that we put in there that center the carrier. That's called the carrier right here. See that entire assembly? And then this is called the ring gear. Okay, so what we got is we got our seal. This is what keeps the oil right here. This is what keeps the oil from going to the outside and keeps that carrier in place. So what we're gonna do is clean this up, put this carrier, put that back in there, and then we can put the carrier in there.
Yeah.
All right. There, ooh, almost there. It finally went in, Ems. Now what I gotta do is move this adjuster over just a little bit. Just a little bit so it don't fall out. What we're gonna do is tighten the left side. It's tight. Right now we're adjusting the backlash. So what we're doing, we're moving this back and forth, and we're seeing how much play is in there. Right now it's about 4/1000ths of an inch, and that's a little tight. So what we're gonna have to do is loosen this side just a little bit to allow this to be a little bit further away from the pinion. All right? All right, let's try it. I'm gonna turn this, about that far. see if that changed anything. Oh, look at that. How far is that, Ems? How many hash marks?
I don't know.
So right now it's about 7. And then we're going to, so 7, 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'd be 6/1000ths of an inch. So that's pretty standard where we want these. I think that's good enough for a 14 bolt, don't you? All right. All right, Em, so what I'm looking at is making sure that the ring, this is the ring gear, and the pinion gear are meeting together correctly. So it tells me that it has the proper contact pattern for this, so that these gears are as strong as possible. So now we just gotta put her all back together. All right, Ems, what you doing there?
Putting the stuff on.
What is that stuff?
Paint?
Marking grease. But you're right, it is like a type of paint. What we're gonna do is check our gear pattern. We just went over how to check the backlash. Now she's doing the gear pattern. Yep, what we want is it to be on there really thick like that, Ems, so we can read what the contact is. Did you get both sides? The bottom too?
Yeah.
We want to paint it all yellow so that when the gears, I'll show you what it looks like. All right? So, what we can see right there is, see, that's telling us where the gears are touching. You can see how they painted. Now we look at the other side too. You can see it's left a mark there. That's telling us where the gears are touching. See right there? That means it's pretty close to the center and it's touching it pretty nice and deep, which is what we want. So we can see both sides of the gear where it's touching. Overall, I think it'll be all right. We had this set up. We've been running it for the last year. I think it'll be all right. It's pretty centered. It's pretty deep, and it's. And we can see there we're pretty centered across there. It's pretty deep, pretty even on both sides. So now we're just gonna put this thing all back together. All right. So now what she's got to do is put the keepers in the 14 bolt backlash adjusters. So she's gonna put that in, and then I'm gonna go look up the torque specs because I don't fully remember. We still got to tighten these, and those. So I'm gonna go look up the torque specs real quick and see how we're looking. This right here is the wheel bearing. You see that? That goes on right there. So you have to pick that up, slide it on. So first put that on there. Yep, just like that. Then try to line up all 4 of these holes. You're gonna have to push. There you go, you almost got it. Now push that on there. There you go. Hey, you got it. Now we turn this over and we got these nuts that go on the back that you have to put on there. All right, next we have to put this little spacer that's in your hand, and it connects it to the axle shaft to the unit bearing so that the axle shaft can spin the unit bearing. Now you got to get that lined up just right, and then you got to spin this just a little bit to make sure all those little gear shaped deals splines line up. Oh, you got it. It's going in. Hey, you got it. Look at this. I could get used to this. Now all I got to do is show Emily how to put all these back together, and I can just sit back and drink beer, huh, Ems? She's putting putting the unit bearing on. Remember, we got to turn the other way. All right, so as Emily's getting the calipers all tightened up, we will have pretty much all the outers all put together. Then what we're gonna do is throw the tires on there. We're gonna put the tires on there so we can spin it and see if the locker is working the way it's supposed to. I just wanna do that before I put the cover and the ram back all together. Just in case anything's not right, it's just less stuff I have to take apart again. You get that snug? Gotta be real snug. All right. So to explain these cutting brake handles a little bit better, like this one over here on the driver's side, we'll go back to the driver's side tire, really is going to allow us to be able to make sharper turns. We are getting the AN fittings all installed there, running them, routing them down through there, underneath the seat, down along the frame rail with all the other hoses and such. Going back over to here where each one will go to each different brake. So what I need to do now is zip tie everything down, clean it all up, get it all tidied up, make sure we have no loose ends, tighten all this up, and then go through and bleed the brakes. And I have a way that I like to do that at home too. Little deal I can show people. The easiest way, in my opinion, to bleed brakes. So hang on, we're getting close to wrapping this thing up. So this is how I like to bleed brakes. Right here I've got this vacuum unit. And so you hook it to your air compressor, run a hose over here, then you just take this deal right here, put it right on the caliper, and it's a tight fit. Put it on the caliper, then draw a vacuum, and that vacuum pulls the fluid down through there, and you can watch the fluid come out of the hose. To me, that's the quickest, easiest way to bleed my brakes, instead of having someone sit here and pump on it. That way's worked pretty well for me. All right, we're gonna go ahead and test this locker. The great thing is, once again, it is snowing. Every time I try to test something, well, that's the time that this sort of weather comes in, but that's all right. We're gonna see if this works. All right, we're rolling out of the garage here. What we're gonna do is test this locker, see if everything works the way it's supposed to. Gonna see if these cutting brakes work the way they're supposed to. The snow is just gonna make it a little bit more fun. All right, we're in front only, just trying to get through the yard. Let's see. All right, let's try this again. What we're gonna do is simulate. I gotta bleed these brakes again. There's still a little bit of air in there. I didn't get it very good. Never bled the brakes with cutting brakes before, so we're gonna simulate going around a corner. The front tires are turning, the back tire's locked, and the other tire's turning. So now I'm gonna let it go. And that's how it's supposed to work. Well, let's try this again. It's working.
Just dragging that tire around. Getting dizzy over here.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying we need a drone.
Oh, I know. But the good thing is it's working, and plus I got that belt squeak to go away for the most part. It's just a little wet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Now right here I put it back into four-wheel drive. You can see that all four tires are spinning, and you can see that this greatly reduces my turning radius because the tires are basically pushing me through the corner and they can't spin faster on the outside.
Can't turn nearly as tight with it in four-wheel. So the locker's fully locking up. So just wanted to try it and make sure everything's working.
I know Em wants to try it too.
Does she?
Yeah. So, all right,
we just took this thing around the yard, out in the snow, testing it out, making sure that the locker works the way it's supposed to do. So when I put it in the front only, what happens is no power is going through the back drive line to the locker, it unlocks either side. So I put it in the front only, where I'm selecting only the front axle, and I'm turning one way or another. That means the outside tire can spin faster than the inside tire. That's the problem with the spool. Basically, you're locking the entire back axle so they can't spin at different rates, and it makes it harder to do a front dig because you're dragging one dead tire that's not spinning faster than it's not spinning faster than the inside tire, so it makes it harder to pull off a good front dig. The other thing was these cutting brakes right here. That was a big help as well. So as I got out in the snow, I could grab the cutting brake when I had the front axle in front only. When I had the transfer case in front only, I could grab the cutting brake, and then it would turn me sharper. It would lock that tire up, and then this tire could spin freely, and I could spin in a tighter radius. So it really made a big difference. I tried an example here where I did a front dig where I tried to turn in the same radius with the rear axle still in place, and you can see it just does not turn as sharp. So the rear axle is trying to push you through it. So it really makes a big difference. So I'm hoping that helps us out this year. So it's just another tool that we have to try to, be better at rock crawling. Anything you can do really helps. And so this is something that hopefully it helps us out this year in the competition.